waiting on the statistics from the Federal Trade Commission from 2025, and they don't get released for about another month or so. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. Okay, so here's so this is my official presentation. So how I start the presentation is just a couple of facts. The first one is, it is estimated that approximately 11% of adults, or over 25 million people, have been the victim of a scam during a one-year study period, according to the Federal Trade Commission. The Federal Trade Commission is a United States government agency. They're basically known as the Consumer Protection Agency for the United States. They do outreach, but their main goal is prosecuting companies that have scammed or defrauded people, and not just individuals. It's more, like big scale investigations. A lot of people who are scammed don't report it for various reasons. They're ashamed, they're embarrassed, they're scared. We actually, when we started doing these presentations back in 2018, we had several women come up to us, and I go out to the community with different people depending on the event. And we had a couple of women came up to my colleague and I to tell us that they were afraid to tell their adult children because they were afraid their adult children were going to put them in a home and not let them live independently because of the scam. So there's a lot of reasons, emotional reasons, why people don't report scams. And so even though we know they're in our community, sometimes we don't know how bad the problem is. We have there's estimates, there's, approximations, but there's never going to be a probably an exact total, whether it's monetary losses or number of scams that people fall victim to, because again, that reporting is just not as happening as it should. Let's see. Sorry about that. Let me go back. There we go. All right, cool. So, a question I put recently in I did a presentation virtually is, have you ever been the victim of a scam? Now, you don't have to answer, but again, we do ask this sometimes in the community, depending on the audience, only because we just, and not to make them embarrassed, but just to know. And some people are very happy to share and want to teach their fellow humans that, yes, I've been the victim and I've survived, and I'm thriving now. Others are still embarrassed, so they won't answer, and that's fine. But again, just making sure that they know that they're not going to be judged by us, and that we're going to do what we can to help them. One other fact before I move on: younger people are actually scammed more often than older adults. Older adults just have more money to lose. And so there have been stories, especially here in our community, where we have had victims that have lost their entire life savings. The romance scam, we had a woman who was actually scammed, two different scams, home improvement and then romance. Once you become a victim, sometimes it makes you more susceptible to be a victim again. And it's not whether or not you're smart or not, it's whether or not, we've had people that have had, that have gotten Alzheimer's, dementia, some type of cognitive disease that has limited their ability to be able to decipher whether or not a scam is happening or not. So, we had a doctor who was actually a medical examiner for the Commonwealth of Virginia it was almost 10 years ago. And he ended up losing like $300,000 because he thought he was going and investing money in a legitimate company. And it was a scammer posing as a financial advisor who then took all of his money, and we were unable to ever get his money back. So all throughout the presentation, I'll give examples of scams that have happened that I know of. So this is the Federal Trade Commission. They put out this sheet, and like I said, I'm waiting until March when they publish it again. So the top 5 frauds of 2024, the first, the imposter scams. This includes IRS. We actually had many people that have received a phone call from the IRS stating that they're delinquent in their tax bills, and that if they go ahead and pay via gift card or they pay over the phone via credit card, that they would be able to wipe their tax bills and be made whole. The IRS is never going to call you to ask for money. There's a process in place that is identified in the tax code. So we're trying to, again, let people know that, no, you're not going to pay your tax bill via gift card or by Visa or MasterCard or whatever credit card you use. That you're going to have to pay either electronically as it's set up, or you're going to write a check and send it to the IRS. Some other imposter scams include Medicare, Social Security. Back when Social Security checks were primarily paper form, we had instances where people would actually go through people's mailboxes and steal their checks. There are still paper checks being issued, but the majority of payments, according to Social Security Administration, is via electronic payments. So, people make sure that they check their electronic bank accounts. Some people check it on a daily basis. I know people who check it, several times a day. But just, again, making sure that the money is there and that the money didn't get diverted somewhere else, which is important. Also, scams related to Social Security, again, is, people pretend to call from Social Security or from Medicare. A lot of Medicare billing, fraudulent Medicare billing happened during the pandemic. Scammers pretended to be doctor's offices, and Medicare, the actual agency in the federal government, got scammed out of millions of dollars because of these scams. So again, all of us can be victims. Number 2, online shopping and negative reviews. Online shopping was already a big part of people's lives before the pandemic. It became, I think, even larger, more, we depended on online shopping for a number of reasons during the pandemic. And obviously people are still wanting to, online shop and have goods and services, delivered to their home. And unfortunately with that, there are costs. So Temu is an example of a company. A lot of people use Temu. They have a lot of good pricing. But there was an incident about a year ago where a woman contacted us to tell us that she had bought a 6-piece living room furniture set for about $350. She thought, great, this is an absolute, literally steal, price-wise, for a 6-piece living room furniture set. Well, when it got delivered, it was not the living room furniture that she had envisioned. It was like doll furniture that could fit on a table. So obviously she was disappointed. She had paid with her credit card, so her credit card company was able to refund her. But again, it's about expectations, managing expectations, and making sure you're getting what you pay for. Number 3, business and job opportunities. This has become a huge scam for people, especially people who want to work from home. Craigslist, other social media websites, Instagram, Facebook, probably TikTok. I'm not on TikTok myself. But a lot of people are advertising job opportunities in these social media venues. And younger people don't understand that they don't have to pay money up front when they're getting a job, because they don't understand the nuance of how you go through the process of obtaining a job. So we've had a lot of younger people that have paid money for, work phone, work computer, other expenses, quote unquote. So that has happened to the younger people. Older people that may want to work from home, it's happening as well. They're getting not promoted, but they're getting contacted out of the blue to work from home, and these great promises of, making thousands of dollars a week. And in fact, it is usually not legitimate. So again, a lot of these are perpetrated via email messaging and text messaging. Investment scams. There have been several on the news in the last couple of months. Again, financial advisors and financial professionals had to be licensed with a organization called FINRA, FINRA. The Securities and Exchange Commission, another U.S. government agency, also regulates, financial. They don't do the licensing piece, but they will investigate scams and schemes that come to their attention. So again, if you decide that you want to work with a financial advisor, you want to make sure that that financial advisor, individual, or the firm that that individual works for are in fact licensed. FINRA, FINRA, has a website that you can look it up. I myself have a financial advisor, and I looked that person up, and she is legitimate and licensed. But again, just taking those extra steps, because a lot of people believe people what they say. It's that trust thing. And my rule of thumb now is trust but verify. Number 5, internet services. This could be a wide range of schemes. This could be you get a call from Microsoft or Apple or a company that works on computers, and they want to take control of your computer. Again, you don't want to ever give control of your computer to anybody. What we tell people is, if you have a problem with your computer, take it to a local store. I know Best Buy has a program. People love Micro Center. There's a location in Vienna, Oakton. So again, if you receive the blue screen of death and it tells you, hey, you owe us $799.99, or this virus will be activated if you don't pay the money. This happened to my dad 2 weeks ago. I had just had him turn off the computer. We waited 5 minutes. We turned it back on, and the message disappeared. So you don't want to spend any money if you don't have to. So being careful about using, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, anything is susceptible to that type of scam. And then some reported losses. It's estimated that people are losing $5.7 billion. That was back in 24. I've heard that number being as high as 100 billion, depending on what information is being published. So there is no correct amount. We just know that a lot of people are doing research. This information is what is reported to the Federal Trade Commission. So there are varying degrees of information. Okay. Some additional information from the Federal Trade Commission. They're working on cracking down on illegal telemarketing, which is different than robocalls. So robocalls, I don't think we'll ever be fully rid of robocalls, but I know that the cell phone and landline companies are working to try to curb that and not have as many that we receive, but it probably will never be fully eliminated. Illegal telemarketing, there's the do not call list that the Federal Trade Commission has had for the last almost 22 years. You can register up to 10 phone numbers at one time on your account, and then it has to be renewed every 10 years. They're working on banning impersonation fraud, and it's just trying to make sure, again, protecting us consumers from these types of scams. The Federal Trade Commission has brought multiple cases against financial and business opportunity schemes. The companies listed Wealth Press, Blueprint to Wealth, Traffic and Funnels, Automators, and Ganadors. Federal Trade Commission is also working on confronting emerging forms of fraud. I think artificial intelligence is really going to become, again, it's already huge. It's going to become even bigger. And it's just a matter of, do we want to, because there are people now that won't answer their phone because they don't know if it's a real person or if it's someone with the deep fakes or using artificial intelligence to mask a phone number. back in 2019, there was the "Can you hear me" scam. And it was basically getting you to say yes, so they would record your voice. And there were people that had their voice recorded, and that voice was able to get other scammers loans in your name or in the person's name, credit cards in the person's name. So if you answer the phone and they ask, is this Melissa Smar? I say, this is she. I don't ever say yes. So I come up with other, answers to that question, just not the word yes. Trying to, again, protect us from canned spam enforcement. Unfortunately, there's been some issues with Publishers Clearinghouse. Experian has offered a wide variety of credit products. They're not just a credit reporting agency anymore. They're offering credit cards to young people to build their credit. And that has caused some issues where the Federal Trade Commission is stepping in. And then the Federal Trade Commission, which we in Fairfax County use, they have information in multiple languages, because here in Fairfax County alone, we have about 190 different languages that are spoken. Emily and I attended, along with some of our colleagues, an event at the Selig Community Center. It was almost 3 weeks ago. And they have the woman who was talking to us said that they have 10 languages just at that center alone, the 10 main ones that they need information with scam, to give to their clients. And then these are my sources, and then I update them every year with the information. Okay. Another example that I use in an online presentation, as I already mentioned, there's over 80 scams currently in our county that citizens are being targeted for their money. This information came from AARP. And then I did not know this until AARP told us last summer. So we'll move along. 2025 scams. Employment scams ended up becoming a huge scam for people last year. This included phony job ads, to fake recruitment pitches in your inbox. More elaborate scams involved bogus payments. They would send a check to you and ask you to deposit it, but they've charged or they paid you too much. So then they've asked you to write a check for the difference. The check itself, the first check was not even legitimate, but it takes sometimes a couple of weeks for the bank to process all this. And then that's how people are losing money. Again, if you want to find employment, other than volunteering for this wonderful organization, you want to do your research and do not give out any banking information or personal information. And this is important, again, for young people, because a lot of young people are falling for this scam because they just don't understand how finding a job works in some cases. Cryptocurrency scams. We did a Scam Jam event on cryptocurrency back in 2024. It is becoming a huge way of, paying. I myself don't have cryptocurrency. We have a colleague that has told us cash is king, and I 100% agree with that fact. There are savvy investors that understand cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency is currently not backed by the federal government. As you know, FDIC insurance for banks, for example, our money in banks, they offer insurance up to $250,000 for our banking protection. But again, and cryptocurrency, a lot of them don't have, brick and mortar banks like we're used to. And in 2023, there was approximately 9,000 cryptocurrency complaints from people between the ages of 50 and 59. Their losses approximately totaled more than 900 million. So there are, and I will tell you, there are actually more cryptocurrency ATMs in Fairfax County than there are cash ATMs. A lot of the cryptocurrency ATMs are the green machines where you can put in your change to get money back for your change. Those machines, in addition to cashing in your change, actually can transfer money. And into cryptocurrency, into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency measures, I guess, for lack of a better term. We actually had a county employee who got scammed in a jury scam. She was told that if she didn't pay $5,000 by 5 p.m. that day, that she was going to be arrested. She lost $4,700, and she had gone to one of those machines. And once that money went through that machine, the police couldn't help her because they couldn't track where her cash money went. So that's why some of these scams, we cannot retrieve the money back for individuals. If you decide and you feel comfortable with cryptocurrency, you want to make sure that the company that is offering the cryptocurrency is registered with the Commodities Futures Trading Commission and the National Futures Association. A lot of companies don't have brick and mortar offices anymore. A lot of them have P.O. boxes in different, whether it's the post office or the Parcel Plus, the private companies that offer, like copying services. They'll also have mailboxes, P.O. boxes in their storefront. You just, again, want to be careful how you use cryptocurrency or trade cryptocurrency. The virtual celebrity scam was a big one in 2025. People, if you have a social platform, media platform, again, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. So there was a woman on the Today Show last year who thought she was working with, or was going to meet one of the reporters, thought this reporter needed money. Excuse me. She ended up giving the scammer, again, who she thought was the reporter, $230,000 of her own dollars. That's money she's never going to get back because they could not track down who the scammer was. Again, you want to be careful who you're giving your money to. Celine Dion's not going to need your money, so she's not going to reach out to you unless you're lucky enough to be a friend of hers. Be careful and be skeptical if someone, pretending to be Celine Dion or Denzel Washington or whomever. I actually got a message from Bruce Springsteen 2 years ago on my LinkedIn page. I blocked it, but again, you think, oh, this person really wants to talk to me, but in most cases, it's going to be a scam. Tech support scams. I briefly talked about this with the computer scams. Again, you're going to get a pop-up message. Companies like Microsoft or Apple. It could say that your computer has a virus, or if you don't take care of the issue by giving them money, it could end up, loading a virus, and then you're going to have to pay even more money to get it fixed. Again, a lot of people have different, security protection on their computers, Norton antivirus, McAfee. There's many other companies that offer the service. But again, you just want to make sure that you're as safe to be safe on your computer as you can be. There is no magic guarantee that if you have Norton antivirus, it's going to protect you from all the scams or any viruses. But again, you were trying to do your best to protect your computer and your information. And a lot of people, if they give control of their computer to a scammer, a lot of people keep their financial information on their computer. So it only takes about 5 or 10 minutes for someone who knows what they're doing, technologically speaking, to be able to get that information off your computer. So just be careful who you give information or control of your computer to. The credit card decline scams. So this actually started in the fall of 2024. This actually started with AAA, and people really thought this was legitimate. They were offering, or what people thought they were offering, was an emergency car care kit, and if they took a survey. So people thought this is great. They took the survey. The kit was going to be free, but then they would have to pay for shipping for said kit. They went ahead and did that. They put in their credit card, said it got declined. They put in the credit card number again, got declined. And then people thinking there was something wrong with that credit card would put in a second credit card number and the same message was appearing. So again, people then then it went through, but they never received the, emergency car care kit. And then in turn, they started receiving these other suspicious charges on their credit card from other companies because the scammers were passing the information along to other companies. And then the scammers were charging, money on the credit card because they had legitimate credit card numbers. So again, if we recommend you pay by credit card because a lot of debit cards do not have the protection of being able to get money back. I have heard from several people that their debit card will allow them the protection like a credit card. So it just depends on the vendor or the company that you have your debit card through, whether or not it acts like a credit card or is it better to use your credit card, because you have more time to make any dispute or, file any disputes. And then you want to make sure that these websites are legitimate. In the case of the AAA car care kits, emergency car care kits, they in turn, it was an email address that people were clicking on. So they weren't even going to the AAA website. They were going through the message and then when they went to the link and what they thought was the AAA website was not. It was something that the scammers had already pre-programmed. So what we tell people in that instance is if you believe that AAA is offering an emergency car care kit, either call them or go onto their website because they'll have a message if in fact they have that service. Again, another check-in for what I do for virtual presentations. Any other scams you have heard about from any other news source, social media, or family and friends. I will tell you last summer was a big one. Many people received a text message about the Easy Pass, and if they had a balance on their Easy Pass, and if they didn't pay it, that they were going to lose their driver's license. Again, that would not have happened, but people got scared, and there were a few people that actually clicked on it, paid it, and they didn't know anything because a lot of them didn't have Easy Passes. Emily, are there any questions in the chat since I'm not able to see it?
I am not seeing any questions. I see a couple people typing.
Okay.
So if you have questions, please put them in.
Okay. If something comes up, just interrupt me, Emily.
Sure.
I'm just going to go forward with scams after disasters. And Emily has allowed me to stay after my presentation if there are any questions. So I'm not going anywhere, I promise. So scams after disasters, again, this is where the department I work for, Land Development Services, we, especially snowstorm, like we just had the snow and ice storm, any hurricane, derecho, any man-made or natural disaster, it makes the news, and there are scammers that will literally travel across the country, especially for home improvement work. If a tree goes through a house, they'll come and try to fix the problem. Fairfax County, we have a Department of Cable and Consumer Services. They actually license door-to-door solicitors. It is a Class 2 misdemeanor for an individual to go door-to-door without a license. So you want to ask for their door-to-door solicitation license before doing any business with them. You want to hire a contractor or you've done enough research on, and you don't want to give any deposits for any work before the repairs begin. The complaints that we receive in my department, we have had people that have given all the money to a contractor and no work has started. So that becomes troublesome for the person because sometimes we may be able to help them get the money back with the help of the police department, or sometimes that money is lost and then they have nothing to show for the money that they paid. Insurance fraud is always a concern. You don't want to give anyone your insurance information. You want to ensure your insurance approves any repairs before they begin. and always get a contract and written estimate for repairs. Charity scams, unfortunately, charity scams happen all year round. You want to donate to charities you know and trust and are also registered with the Virginia Consumers, Agriculture and Consumer Services with the Commonwealth of Virginia.
And Melissa, I did have
yeah.
two
Sure.
things. One person said social media ad using AI deepfakes to represent real people to get you to purchase a product.
Yep.
And then another was someone saw a report about zombie mortgages. And another was scams believed on Facebook Marketplace. So those were a couple.
Yes. The zombie mortgage is a new term. I just heard about it the other day and I have to do more research, but that is happening. So again, tread lightly with anything that you don't know anything about. Facebook Marketplace, yes. There's a couple of tips for Facebook Marketplace. Number one, if you decide to make a purchase from Facebook Marketplace, maybe you meet at a neutral location as opposed to your house versus the other person's house. I have noticed at our local police stations, they actually have two parking or three parking spaces in front of the police station to allow people to do that type of exchange. That may not be a bad idea because it is a public place. And also pay by credit card. I know a lot of people want to take cash, but you'd rather have the product before you give up the cash. Was there anything else, Emily, before I move on with disasters?
Yeah. Someone was asking if the presentation will be made available, and it will. And we're also going to put a recording of this session. And then another person asked, said, most of us have security on our devices. Do you think that's enough to protect us from scammers online?
Well, I think it helps, but there is no foolproof method to protect any of us, even if we have the best security system, just like, a security system in our house. But again, it is definitely a good thing to have a security system, security alerts and security on your computers, cell phones, iPads, your electronic devices. But again, there's nothing foolproof. Anything else, Emily?
Nope, okay. That was it.
Thank you. Okay. So going back to disasters, disaster fraud hotline is listed, and yes, Emily will make this presentation available. I'll send this one to you, Emily, because this is the virtual.
And you just muted, Melissa. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. My apologies. I don't know if I pressed something or not. There we go. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I apologize. Okay. So National Center for Disaster Fraud started in 2005. 70,000 complaints involving over 50 natural and man-made disasters. And for Hurricane Katrina that happened over 20 years ago, there were over 1,300 disaster fraud cases. So this again is available for those. If hopefully we all never have to use this hotline, but it is available if we ever need it. So shopping, I learned a couple years ago that the holiday season actually starts unofficially November 1st and goes through the end of January. Obviously, we're shopping online throughout the year, various, anniversaries, birthdays, celebrations, etc. So this is some scams you want to look out for while shopping online. Sham order confirmations, usually delivered to us via email messages and text messages. Bogus shipping notices. Sometimes they'll send us a postcard in the mail saying that they're trying to deliver something to us when we know that we may not have, we didn't order anything, so we shouldn't be receiving this postcard. Shady email scams, which I know a couple of the volunteers have discussed in the questions that they asked us beforehand. Cloned websites. Again, some of these websites look real, and in fact, they are cloned. And just trying to decipher is always difficult. Disappearing packages, especially during the holidays, that's a problem that our Fairfax County Police Department has had many cases regarding. Fake charities, I talked about that a moment ago. Unreal relatives in distress. A lot of times that happens. Facebook, LinkedIn. Sob stories on social media. The GoFundMe. Again, if you decide to donate to someone who has started a GoFundMe page, again, you can certainly do that. I would make sure that the ask is legitimate and not, some type of scam. But again, you use your best judgment on that. Phony classified ad listings and intercepted data. And my source is at the bottom of this page. So a scam that's related to the phony website. Fake sites are using photos from real online retailers and mimicking their look and feel. So you click on an ad online or on social media, like we just discussed. You think this product is what you need, has a great price, and your credit card information, and you never receive anything. Again, you never want to click on an ad. You want to rather go to the retailer's website. You want to go to the trusted shopping websites that you visit frequently. If you're considering buying from a new site, first check their online reviews as well as their company track record. And the Better Business Bureau has a lot of that information on their website. They have a main website. I used to work there years ago. So we're covered under the Better Business Bureau of Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. And they have a lot of great information on their website. You can look up companies, whether or not they've had complaints. We recommend that when people are looking for contractors, because people do file complaints with the Better Business Bureau about contractors as well. So the more research you can do, the better. Some tips to protect yourself while you shop, and this could be primarily online, but this people use this also for when you go brick and mortar shopping. You want to make a list and a budget. You want to do your research so you know what you're going to purchase beforehand as best you can. You want to look for the best deals. You want to keep track of your purchases, and you want to give gifts, not personal information. And again, my source is the Federal Trade Commission's FTC tips for happy holiday shopping. And then I'm going to give more tips, but I've gotten a few tips over the years from the audience, so I always ask this question. So what can you do? So if you're at home, you don't have to, let me back up. If you're at home or wherever you are, you don't have to answer the telephone, whether it's your landline or your cell phone. You have the control and power to use this option. If you are at home, you don't have to answer the door. A lot of people think that that they have to, but they don't. Many people now are utilizing some type of camera, whether it's, the Ring camera, Nest, whatever product you're using. A lot of people are using cameras on their homes for extra protection. So again, if you use it, use it. If it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Again, you do not want to click on unknown text or email messages. You want to create strong passwords for your online accounts. There's a newer tip that we've been giving out to people. Families are creating safe words or passphrases. In the event there's a problem, it can assist in protecting you and your family. And this came about with the grandparent scam that we did not discuss. But it has helped families, especially, grandparents who receive phone calls that their grandchild has been kidnapped, has been in an accident, or has been arrested for some type of crime. We actually, one of our Silver Shield members, her mom received a phone call that our team member, had been in a car accident and that she was going to be arrested. And she was at work, but they couldn't get a hold of her right away because she was working. And they were able, once they got a hold of her, they realized it was a scam, but they were really using that, the emotional, for scamming. It's about the emotional pull of getting the scammer wants you to believe that something's happening and scare you into acting quickly. And that's what they were trying to do to our teammate's mother. Luckily, she did not lose any money. She did not spend any money. But it could have ended differently had our teammate not been able to answer her phone at work. If you're unsure about what you're being told, Fairfax County Consumer Affairs, we're the only county in the Commonwealth that has our own Consumer Affairs office. Everyone else has to go through the Attorney General's Office of Virginia. They're open 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. They have an investigator of the day that answers questions and gives advice. And then, like I mentioned, we have the Financial Crimes Unit of the Fairfax County Police Department, who investigates complaints of financial crimes.
Melissa, can you talk a little bit about the Consumer Protection Commission's campaign? I can put that in the chat also.
Yeah. So there's two different campaigns going on. Our Consumer Protection Commission, as Emily just stated, they've come up with something similar to what AARP had put commercials out for last summer. And it's basically, hold on, I can tell you. I have it written down. The Consumer Protection Commission campaign is pause, question, protect. So, you want to question if you have a scammer on the phone, pause, is it real? Question, and then protect yourself from being a victim. The AARP campaign is extremely similar. It's pause, reflect, protect. So we are just helping to promote, again, whether it's AARP or CPC, both of them are good advice for all of us to, again, try to slow down the heightened fear that the scammers are trying to use for us to make a quick decision that we otherwise would not. So, was there anything else you wanted me to go over, Emily?
Janine just mentioned urgency always seems to be a warning. And I think both of the campaigns, which Melissa mentioned, have a pause or a reflect, or I've also heard, stopping and talking with a trusted loved one to run something by them to make sure that what's being proposed is real and true. And it never hurts to get somebody else involved, especially when there's some urgency to what's being proposed to you by someone.
That is correct, Emily. And thank you. Thank you. Any other questions in the chat?
No other questions in the chat. Is there anybody who wanted to ask Melissa a question?
Yes. Is there any truth to reports that using credit cards at gas stations can be risky because there have been reports that people can somehow, from a distance, I guess, capture your credit card information?
Yes.
Anything to that?
Yes, there is truth to that. So AARP had, we did a presentation a couple weeks ago, and AARP brought this up. If there are devices that are put on the gas pump, such as skimmers or something that allows a person who is parked, not even at the gas station, but in a neighboring shopping center, there is, and of course, a lot of cell phones can be good and evil. There are instances where they can get our credit card information and then use it for themselves. One way to combat this is people are starting to use the protection, I think it's RFID, where they have, and there are like credit card protectors where people just put that on there so that that would protect the information from getting intercepted. Now it's not happening everywhere, but that is a new danger that is kind of lurking in our community. And they've actually gone so far, some of these companies have also created wallets that are RFID protected so that people can, just use their wallet. And, our credit cards now, a lot of them have the tap feature. So it's making it convenient, but at the same time, it opens us up for, scams and interception of data, and also purses for women. So, and then Miss Purdy just put in the chat about the ATMs and cash machines at the 7-Eleven, because there have been instances where skimmers have been put on ATM machines, and that traps information. So they're little devices, and you would know if it's there because it's something that is usually not on a machine. So a lot of people are not even using those machines anymore because they're concerned about their information being stolen. So I hope that answered your question, sir.
And for those of you who haven't checked the chat out, as Melissa's been saying, like RFID and ATM skimmers, I've been trying to put those in there, as well as links to like the FINRA site and other things. So if you haven't checked out the chat, I'd encourage you to take a second to do that. And if there are more questions, please, this is a great time to ask the expert.
Thank you, Emily, for the high praise.
Okay. Melissa is, like I said, she's still engaged with Silver Shield and doing a huge amount of work. There's a Silver Shield subcommittee, which Melissa leads, and that's made up of other Fairfax County departments, including police departments, fire department, consumer affairs. We also have AARP involved, and all of these groups get together monthly to talk about trending scams and things that we need to continue to make the public aware of. So we really appreciate Melissa's time, energy, and effort today. And if you do have questions, she did put her contact information on her slide deck, but you also can always reach out to her or myself, and we can try to get those resolved. I did put in the chat as well the Silver Shield program website, and there's a ton of information there. Some of what Melissa had been doing prior to Adult and Aging getting involved in the way it has was putting together podcasts, and she did mention the Scam Jam event, which is coming up in April. Going to be on April 30th at the Government Center, and we'll definitely get more information out to everybody about that as we move forward. Janine, did you have a question? Comment?
I do. Melissa, I just looked up RFID scanners, chip reader scanners. Is that something I would buy and then, like Dean talked about, use at the gas station to see if somebody's trying to take my information? Or I'm not real sure what RFID scanners are. Do you know? You're kind of, oh,
I
there we go.
I believe those are what scammers are using. But I don't know if there's another product in place to kind of combat that. So I'd have to do a bit more research to find out for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
I think what Melissa was talking about earlier is oftentimes they have these sleeves that you can put your credit card in that protects against it's a radio frequency that gets emitted from the little chip in your card, and that's what these scammers can pick up. But if you have it in the sleeve, they can't actually pick up the signal or frequency. So you would want to keep your card in the sleeve, except for when you're like putting it up to the gas station thing. So that protects. And there are also now purses that keep the radio frequency from emitting past the purse. So that's another way that you can protect your credit cards. Okay, great questions. And I hope, like I said, like I always learn something new. And Melissa really is a wealth of knowledge. And like she said, 80 different scams going on in our community all the time. One of the things that she's mentioned in the past, and I think really hit home for me, is that these scammers, this is their job, and they go about trying to scam people to make money for themselves. And so they are doing it professionally. They're using psychologists, they're using all the latest technology that's available out there because they're trying to find ways to scam people. So I think Melissa said earlier, like people tend not to disclose because they feel ashamed that it's happened to them. But really, this is something that happens regardless of your intelligence, your capability, your abilities. They're out there trying to scam and defraud you. So hopefully this information was really interesting and enlightening to you. I wanted to talk just for a couple minutes about the volunteer opportunities that we're looking at engaging for the Silver Shield program. And so Melissa mentioned that the program often goes out and does outreach in the community. So they are staffing booths at different community events, passing on information about scam and fraud awareness. And then also through the Silver Shield program, groups and organizations can request presentations like what Melissa did today. And so we are looking at engaging volunteers and helping with those outreach events first. And so those volunteers would go through some additional training to learn more about the Silver Shield program so that they could be helpful and answer questions as people at these events would ask them. As you saw, like even in this presentation, like Melissa, because of her extreme knowledge, like she's able to very quickly talk about the different scams just off the tip of her tongue. And that's kind of typical for any of these outreach events as well as presentations. And so you can imagine to be able to answer the questions kind of at the level that people would expect. We are going to have some additional trainings put together on the information that was shared today, in addition to some more information. Also, because Silver Shield is now under the Adult and Aging Department, we would do some additional training on adult and aging services and resources so that as someone were at an outreach event, they would be able to answer those inquiries and questions as well. We're looking at starting recruitment for those outreach specialists, is what we're going to call them, in the March timeframe. And we would be bringing those individuals on board, training them. We would ask that they attend the Scam Jam event that's coming up in April so that they could get some broader exposure to the information that they would be expected to understand and be able to answer those questions. And then we also are looking at bringing on a select few volunteers to help with doing presentations in the community. And those individuals would be given information about Silver Shield, a script that would go alongside the presentation, like what Melissa has done today. We also partner very closely with Consumer Affairs Department, and they do a similar yet a little bit different presentation. And we would be looking at the volunteers getting comfortable and understanding kind of both sets of presentations so that they could help with providing those in the community. And through that additional training, they would be asked to be doing some ongoing training to stay kind of up to date and on top of the information as it changes. And like Melissa referenced, we're constantly getting new information from the Federal Trade Commission, consumer protection agencies. AARP is a great resource. And so we're constantly updating that information so that it can stay trending and topical. And we're looking at recruiting those volunteers probably closer to the April-May timeframe. But we would like those folks to attend the Scam Jam event as well, again, to get that broader understanding of the resources that are out there related to Silver Shield. For those volunteers that are helping to support the outreach specialist and the volunteer presenters, we would also ask that they are doing, I think 2 is the minimum number of presentations or outreach events in a year, if not more. As you can see, as the information changes and you get asked these questions, having somebody do a presentation or an outreach event once a year probably isn't going to be enough to keep people up to date and consistent with being able to answer questions. So that's just a little context of what we're looking at. As we put these together, we will be putting the recruitment messaging out through our weekly emails, and there will be job descriptions that will be included so that you can look at all the details and see if it is something that you are still interested in helping with. I know there are some volunteers who are on this call who had already said they were interested as we were kind of developing the opportunity. So there'll be a little bit more information for you as we get into where we're going with these opportunities. I wanted to pause and Melissa, is there anything you would like to add to the kind of the context of helping to support outreach and presentations that volunteers might need to know?
No, you summarized it very beautifully. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And then are there any questions that or things that the regional volunteer coordinators would like to add? They've been involved in the process. Okay, and then any of the volunteers, any questions that you may have, having heard Melissa's presentation, hearing about these volunteer opportunities, we're happy to answer. Okay, I think we will move on. I really appreciate everybody's time today. I hope that, like we said at the start, this was helpful and good information for yourself. Also, one of those ongoing things is this information is probably not only useful to you, but useful to the people you connect with in the community. And I would highly encourage you to share it with those that you know. And then as you're out connecting with our clients in the community, if you see them needing information, please do pass on what you know about the Silver Shield program so that we can continue to help support our whole community as we move forward. We do have, because this was a rescheduled Connection Corner from the Snow event that happened in January, we have another Connection Corner later this week that is going to take place on Thursday from 3:30 to 4:30. And so we have our speaker, Jody Smith, here. She's going to facilitate a session on boundary setting with volunteers and clients. And so if you're available, I think it'll be a really great opportunity for you to learn and talk through how to set appropriate boundaries as you're working with clients. And so we hope if you're available, you'll come and participate in that. But thank you all again for your time and attention today. And I will wish everybody no scamming and frauding interaction beyond this for today. And thank you so much, Melissa, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.